Everybody stand and we'll do a final reflection. The Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. Herner?
Here.
Mr. American?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Warbeck?
Here.
Mayor O'Brien?
Here. I'm going to read the Statement of Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board of the municipal buildings, published as a legal notice in the Coast Star newspaper and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with Borough policy. We're going to approve the agenda with one change. We're going to introduce another ordinance, ordinance number 2016-06, which is the salary and wage ordinance.
2016.
So can I get a motion to approve the agenda
I'll make that
with
motion.
that change?
Second.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Warbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'm going to ask for approval of the minutes. First, for May 23rd, 2016 executive session. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Abstain.
Mr. Warbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And secondly, for the June 13, 2016 regular session meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Warbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we have a presentation. Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, with us this evening is Paul Damiano, the project architect for the community center improvements. By way of background, the council is aware that this project was initiated as a result of, initially started back some 10 years ago, with preliminary plans prepared by Mr. Damiano. Subsequently, this project was submitted for community development block grant funding over the period of the last 3 years. Last year, we were successful and have been awarded a grant in the amount of just over $150,000 for improvements to the community center. Additionally, as part of Mr. Damiano's work for us, he has prepared a construction estimate of approximately $400,000. And as part of this project, we have identified sources of funding to supplement the CDBG grant funds. Specifically, we have identified approximately $45,000 from the borough's general capital surplus, as well as $200,000 from the borough's open space, recreation, historic and farmland preservation trust fund. The funding has not been secured other than the grant funds from the county CDBG program.
When do we have to use the grant funds by?
There's a project deadline of sometime in 2017.
So that the project has to be completed or started?
Well, the CDBG funded portion has to be completed.
Okay.
And without going into too many details, the primary focus of the CDBG funding is to expand the community center resources as well as provide ADA handicap accessibility improvements. With that being said, Mr. Damiano is going to walk us through the project, provide an overview of the preliminary plans, and just present his focus of what the plans and improvements would include.
And there are no actions on the agenda tonight other than the presentation?
That's right.
Just gonna put it closer to you.
Okay,
You don't have to hold it, but.
sounds good. Hi, everyone. Actually, I don't know, a lot of you might not know me. I'm Paul Damiano. I live actually on Beverly Avenue. I've been a resident of Spring Lake Heights for 23 years and a licensed architect for 24 years. About 2004, we were contacted by a committee who asked us to put together a drawing for an addition to the rec center. And we went ahead and started trying to get a community block grant for that in 2004. And I'm just going to step over to the plan. Basically, and I know you're all familiar with the building. There's the existing entry. There are a single bathroom for men and women, and then obviously the large multi-purpose room with the stage, and there is the existing one-story kitchen in the back. The proposal is to add about 1,100 square feet in the rear. That's the large conference room, small conference room, a new kitchen with a sink warming area, refrigerator, pull down stairs, better access to mechanical equipment, renovations to the existing, because of the occupancy of the building, to have two toilets for each sex, and which is a code requirement, and basically bring the existing building up to code, some of which includes creating a safe enclosure for an exit from the basement, creating a barrier-free bathrooms, creating a barrier-free entrance now from the back of the structure, being able to open up the large conference room to increase the usable or the functionality of the multi-purpose room. So what we did, in preparation to make it sort of clear, to try to make it as simple as possible. We're trying not to change the parking. So the new barrier-free entrance is meant to mimic the front with the ramp in the front here. There's the small conference room, the kitchen in the middle, and the large conference room.
So you're the portion that you're facing out to the
Show
audience
Kathy the
is
front.
Is that the, yeah, the front?
Here's the road surveyor.
this is, yeah, that's the Ocean Road
So I
side,
tell you,
There's Ocean Road.
and then what he was showing you was the back of the
So
back
there's
of
the
the building.
side, so here's the back with the barrier-free spaces that are marked in the rear there.
So basically, the addition is going over that concrete slab that's next to the kitchen,
we're tearing off the,
right?
we're demoing what's the pre-existing kitchen, that whole area is coming off, and this addition is going, replacing that.
So, I know you've got a small copy of it. I mean, these are really just the progress drawings of the construction drawings, but where are we at? I mean, so we know we have the plans. It was very complicated to try to fit. There's clearances for the fixtures, full size doors and that sort of thing. But we did get these to fit. Otherwise, we're also developing. We've been developing the interior drawings where we're developing, obviously what the bidder will need to bid on. So fitting out how we're going to fit out the kitchen, the bathrooms, the doors, trying to reuse some things from the existing bathrooms where we can, salvage some things and reuse them. That's really an overview. In terms of the elevation or the materials, we're really trying to match the existing wood shingles. We're using Anderson windows, wood veneer, doors on the inside with some barrier-free levers and that sort of thing. So 2x2 ceiling where we're allowed to have that. Things did come up in the code review, like we need a rated exit and a way to get out of the basement because it's a windowless story, so you can't just have the stair when the fire's upstairs. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bump out the side to jump, to be able to be saved by a fireman. This new corridor has to be a rated corridor. So we have doors that have to be on closers here. And here, this is the exit out. People need to get to a point of safety. So we basically have these oversized doors on closers. So if there is smoke in the building, the hold open will close up and create safe exit for the rest of the occupants. And I suppose it's an 1,800 square foot building, and we're adding about 1,100 square feet, if that gives you some scale. what percentage increase there is.
Well, maybe worth noting the proposed renovations of the existing community room center.
I mean, we're certainly, we're refinishing the floors, or providing new floors, really. We're renovating the stage and putting 2 storage areas either side of the stage. We're also needing to redo the fire alarm, bring that up to current standards, along with the barrier-free, the drinking fountain, barrier-free bathrooms, and the barrier-free entrance.
And we're upgrading the electric and adding the generators.
We're adding the generators, which is part of it, to have
Where's the generator going to be?
the generator is on the site plan little box. It's actually in the front, because it should be by the gas meter. So we've got a little box on the site plan. I'll show it up on the site.
We can put some shrubs in front, right to the left of the front.
Just have to plan it out. So
Yeah, so it's facing Ocean Road.
essentially, it's right. Next to the gas.
That's where we, before we even did it, that's where we decided we
Yeah.
were after Sandy. That's the most viable place.
Yeah,
We run right in the basement.
Taking part of
Yeah.
So when you said that there would be equipment like in an attic, essentially?
Well, no, there's already equipment in the attic. I have
Okay.
no idea how it gets maintained, because I couldn't get up there with a few ladders. So if there's some how climbs on the cabinet and gets in, that's not really how you should have your building. So in the addition, we put a pull down stair with an attic that you can walk, and then walk into the attic of the existing space so that you can service the equipment or get up there.
You're spoiling them.
Yeah, I don't know how it gets up there.
Is there like a rope that drops down?
I don't know how you maintain the equipment up there.
Yeah, I know.
So it needs to.
On the kitchen wall, is there a reason why the serving out into that conference, that serving area, can that be enlarged over that counter? Here's what I see people doing. I don't know, if people are coming to cater a party, they're coming with trays now. That's what Jay talked about, maybe getting a warming thing where you keep them warm, they come in hot, you keep them warm. Or you set them out with sternos and you keep them warm, so that's, you put them on the counter. I guess you could put them on those tables there. Well,
Are you talking into the large conference, like the main
no,
space?
no, no,
Into
they're
the
calling
conference
this a
room?
large one, there's 2 tables.
Yeah.
Because it's larger than the other.
It's larger than the other new room,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
In there, I'm just
Because
wondering how that
the
would.
one you can't expand probably because of that chimney, right? So, but the other wall is what you're
Well, no,
asking.
I mean, if you can extend, if you just want to extend where you, I mean, not necessarily the opening, because the more opening you have, the less,
See, the one in the front, I would see that would be the bar.
I mean, you could,
That would be the bar on the side, I'd put my food out on the side.
right now, these are just 2 4-foot openings for
Yeah.
people who are coming by. If you wanted to take that counter that's there and take it and expand it however
Yeah.
you want, so you can, you know.
Right, that would give you, then you could put trays out on that counter, use the other window for a bar, and you could utilize those tables, otherwise I'm gonna be putting out on those tables.
So that's fine.
But they're all things we could do,
Yeah, no,
right?
we did not want to have to rip down the chimney, you know, structurally, there are
Yeah.
things sitting on that chimney. So you got a fixed area to work with, I mean, you could start sealing from the other spaces, but that would become.
Well, and the only place to go would be that hallway down below, and that's there, so you can gain access to that room without going through the auditorium part, whatever you want, the hall.
Yeah.
That's why it's there.
Mhm.
Theoretically, we could expand that. And there's no code to say we couldn't expand the kitchen in that space and just make them go through the hall to access that room
You could make
if
it
we,
part,
if we needed that space.
you could make it part of the bigger room, and then they're exiting, you know,
Yeah.
going through.
That's another option. Because the idea, I think, is because nobody is going in there cooking like 40 years ago. It's mostly you're having to cater and you're bringing in trays and you're putting it out. Nobody's cooking the meatball like Santa Perry used to put the big Italian dinners out there.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's cooking, so you just want to need something like a warming tray?
No,
Yeah,
you
the issue-
no.
You know about that.
Only stove, no.
Yeah.
That's
But
stove.
Mr. Gagliano talked about the code requirements. The issue was cooking facilities necessitate a whole an additional level of fire protection and suppression issues.
Well, it's more health department issue. You know, if you cook things there, then you're going to have dirty utensils. You need a 3-bowl sink. That's 7 feet. You know, you need a commercial hood to suppress whatever fire might happen. So it's just another.
You're not really cooking, you're heating. You're having a tea
But if they
party
have
or
the
boiling
ability to
water.
cook, they treated it like you are cooking. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's what can it do? So microwave and warming oven, that warms up. An open fire is cooking.
How do you boil water in a microwave? For a tea party?
Well, actually, you get it, could you do a convection oven? Microwave / convection. But-
Can't boil water, that's forced air heat
Well,
in a convection oven.
why, I have a convection oven.
That's a fan.
It's a regular
How
oven.
about if anybody has comments, just, please approach the chair, state your name, so we can get it.
Oh, mostly the coffee machines, I thought that's how you did it.
Yeah.
Heated up water. The electric, no?
Yeah,
But you have warming plates, coffee makers, those are all things you can have.
Yeah, other ways.
warming plates.
No, get
But
it.
right now, this plan doesn't include.
No one can heat
so-
a
A stove,
soup.
with a stove.
No, just a warming oven.
Right.
No.
Yeah, it's not, I'll incorporate whatever you decide.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand what yeah, that's fine.
The program.
It just makes, you just gotta find a space to put the stuff. And go for the extra expenses, putting all that wood and stuff.
Okay, I mean, John, if you have something to say, feel free to move forward.
Yeah, I can, I should have to
Yeah.
move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we definitely need a stove in there. We have a stove now, you're spending $400,000 to fix the place up, and we're gonna have less of amenities than when we started. Not everybody has catered events catered by a caterer. Some people bring in food in their own little plexiglass things that they baked it in, and they heat them up in the stove. So you definitely need a stove. Now, if you don't want people cooking on the burners of the stove, that's something, but you need something that gets hot, that you can heat up
Heating
stuff
up,
in.
you're saying.
Yeah, not, I don't think a warmer is gonna be enough, so.
Kathy needs you need a flame.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay.
What my big concern is Kathy Hahn, Central Avenue. This building has been here for umpteen years. We grew up here, we all did. We needed the floor 25 years ago, never was done. We needed the new ceiling 25 years ago, never done. Bathrooms were disgusting, we finally did the bathrooms. Arthur got the new windows, we got those. Now, there is a need, the floor needs to be done, number one, that's our first top priority. It's embarrassing when you go in there and see the floor in the condition it's in. The condition of the kitchen is horrendous. We've put up with it for years. I've asked for a broom closet for, I don't even know, 25 years. You have a kitchen with a refrigerator, a stove, cabinets, and then you have the filthy dirty bucket and the filthy dirty mops right there. That is just atrocious. So I mean, this all sounds good, and you get this grant for $100,000. It's not a lot of money when it's all said and done at the end of the day. And if you're going to do this work, then we have to figure out an equal part, like those bathrooms we just put in. I mean, I don't understand that we have to have 2 toilets, there's
It's a
Oh,
law.
uh,
no grandfather.
When you bring up, if we do this project, now's the time when you have to bring everything up to code.
So
If it exists that way, it's
And
not
part
a
of that-
violation.
Plus, part of the grant was to bring us to
Right.
ADA compliance,
And the bathrooms were up to that, right?
at
No,
that time.
that's the
At
point.
the time we
Well,
were.
no, we
No,
just
they're
did.
not?
No, we did some ADA, we thought about it, but we didn't, but by code, no, he's the expert. By code, that's what he's telling me needs to be done. The turning radius, it's about how many people are allowed in the place. But the
Well,
occupants
that's
is
my
how
other
many you
question.
have, how many
is
stalls you
the
need.
room to capacity now? Because now you're going to add more. So now is there more occupants going to be in that building?
Well,
Because
there
what
is
I'm
a-
saying, like, I don't understand why we need this need. Why do we need the back room? Why do we need another conference room? I mean, do we have that?
Well, if you have the
meetings?
conference,
Do we have-
well, a lot of it, by the way, you do have a closet. It's not the sink and everything, so you do have your broom closet.
Fine.
Thought I'd mention it. But in that area is because, so people, if most of those scratches on the floor today, which is the original floor, I mean, we got our money's worth out of it. But you see those scratches, that's from dragging the stuff across. So if you had a meeting, you don't need to set up anything anymore. If you go right into that conference room, you got it. You got another one on the other side. You don't have all the tables and chairs on the floor, which everybody's always complained about. You can put them in on either side of the stage while we're still maintaining the majority of the stage. But there's now storage area that we can take care of. So a lot of the problems people have been complaining about all these years really are taken care of. Plus the generator, we needed it after Sandy.
Yes. I
That people were
understand that.
flocking there, as we know.
Yes.
And the electric is upgraded. I mean, we're doing a lot of upgrades that'll bring it up. It's safer and it works better, but there are kinks. And in one of the kitchens, as we're sitting there going, we're not in the business. Billy would be great at. What do you need? And if it's a stove, then there's cost, and we got to find the room, and that's something we could look at as an alternative.
I mean, I would really hate for you not to have a stove, and that's kind of ridiculous that every other utility town has a stove in it. They have a big restaurant stove. But, I mean, that's not our need, but I do think, a microwave and a warming, or a convection oven is not the way to go.
And I think it's great everybody comes up and puts some input because before you want to get it.
Right,
get it-
because
but-
you know what,
but
I've been
I-
taking care of that, like it's my own house, for over 20 years, just beautification. I have a key, I check to see, I pick up, I pick, if it's not clean, I just straighten it up, I care for it like it's my own home. And it's like my heart and soul in it, and I would hate for it to just get ruined more, or just, and I want it upgraded, you should, it's 2016. But,
And I think
I mean, I just worry with the money, like if it grants
That's
only
what I wanted
100
to
grand.
mention. So,
Go ahead.
Jay may correct me if I'm wrong. So we have the 150 for the grant, we have the 45 from the capital surplus, we have 200,000 from the open space, so that's 395,000. So we're pretty close to 400 without having to spend
And
extra.
sometimes 400 is not.
Yeah, I think
I'm fully aware of it, but I just
Yeah.
before we pull the trigger, let's get the input.
so we know where to spend
I
the
mean,
money,
I
where to
just don't want
cut,
to
if
move
that's
out in
what.
10 years because I can't afford the taxes anymore, where we have literally grown in the soil here, just because we can't afford to live.
We have to put the loaded dough in this building no matter where we go.
I know,
Not necessarily that much,
I know.
but because like you said, the electric needs to be upgraded, the generator has to go in, the floor's got to be replaced.
Yes, and this should have
I mean,
been done
that's-
over time, but
well,
whatever, it's,
Well,
it's
it's the same argument all the time,
So,
right?
I
But if
know,
we can
I know.
keep it to close to 400 today, it looks like we have the money.
And then my other question is, like, when you do a project like this, there's no other alternative, like, this is what we could do for 100, this is what we could do for 250, this is what we could do for 4. Like, there's no A, B, or C.
Well, he has,
You know
there's some
what I mean?
options.
Other
are available.
options?
No, first of all, the finishings aren't even there for what type of floor. You're gonna replace the floor that's there, you're gonna go with a manufactured floor, the Pergo type. There's a lot of options to do that. When you go into the bathrooms, obviously it's gonna have to be tiled again. We have to pick out what's gonna be tiles, you're gonna do wood, what's it gonna be? That's not even on here. This is a general plan to see how it flows. And we know we had an issue with the kitchen, because we don't know. I don't see anybody cooking anymore. I thought maybe that was something that's
I
gone.
don't even care if
You
there's
go there
cabinets,
more, you
We
tell
don't
me.
need cabinets.
I agree. Well,
You know,
and actually, he built in a wall of cabinets on the other side of the conference
Because
area.
that's one thing, like, I don't want people leaving them out there, because it's never get maintained. I want to lock them, we don't need cabinets. It's most important to have the refrigerator and the stove and a sink.
Yeah.
That's what's not, and a countertop,
Right.
truly. And my,
And the
Enough
closet.
room.
and my room
Don't
closet.
forget the closet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, thank you.
Oh, I love the Arthur.
You know you're in
I have a
trouble.
new name for
You know
you.
you're in trouble. At least it wasn't
Arthur.
Master Herman.
Arthur.
Invoke the same cat.
My lord.
Yeah.
I'm Nancy Gutierrez, Committee Voted. I mean, I think it's great we're going to do work on the community center, but one of the first things I wrote down is, and I know nobody wants to hear this, especially you, but, no, I just know when I say it, you're going to be like, oh, Lord, Nancy, shut up. We need a committee. This woman put her blood, sweat, and tears into this. I live across the street from her. She's always there. She's tidying up. She's watering the plants. She's changing the plants. She's changing the flag. She makes sure the lights are up. The lights are out. Or get the guys over there. The lights are out. She does take care of that community center like it's her own. we need a committee to do the.
Well, first we know what committees can and can't do. We have a good experience with what they can and can't do. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it prolongs it.
Right, I understand.
We need to get to this point
Right.
to even talk about the committee,
I agree.
or talk about it. Because he's gonna give us like the issues of the kitchen. We wouldn't even know what to talk about.
Right,
at the
I
committee.
agree.
So now we have a plan, and from that we can discuss what are our needs and what's feasible, and move quickly on it.
I'm just asking you if Kathy can be on the committee.
That's what I was trying to tell her.
She didn't pay you to say that.
We have to decide on floors and tiles and stuff
Right.
like that, and yeah, we want everybody to be happy.
No, but I think, yeah, Art's guy's right, that, I mean, you need something to start the discussion. It's called the community center, and I think, the community should certainly have some input on how this thing turns out.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think it's great, and I think it's great that Paul's talking about, using the cedar shapes. I want to make sure, like, I was looking at are we going to keep those nice wide moldings on the exterior windows and then those great big Andersons? I mean, that's part of what makes that building. And I think Kathy will pay attention to the details. Make her a committee of one working with Paul to tweak it. Because I believe, though, that Kathy
We'll give her a list of
knows.
decisions.
I'll
But-
second-
but
I'll
it
second- I'll
will
second
have
that.
to come back to the council, but Kathy does know what we need. I love your idea that we need more counter space, because let's face it, I've had birthday parties there,
Yeah.
christenings, graduations. You need just that counter space. And the more we keep the food in the kitchen, the better shape we're gonna keep the rest of the building. If we can keep it, right there, and they spread it out, and they're not dragging it across to set up 6-foot tables to put the things on. I think that's a great idea. Even if we bumped into one of the conference room on the right, but then I'm looking at I don't know if there's a door here or, what kind of opening you have to have, but I'm like, maybe we can steal a little bit of, I'm there for a little more counter space, bar stools for your bar. No, I'm
Just trying to get rid of the wooden bar.
But I think that that's a great idea, and I do think we need a stove. If we can just warm things, could there not be, and maybe, could be, but, a stove top on the counter without the oven? So it's more like.
What's the flame? Well,
What-
John needed the oven, Kathy needs the flame. The easiest way is an oven, but what that means is you're gonna have to put a hood on it.
Well,
That's what
okay.
that means, right? If you have a flame on a stove,
I mean, we want to be.
Oh, we don't even have a hood.
We can look into electric.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Right.
Get electric with the housing thing, it's from design.
But the oven and the flames, the whole thing, and the commercial, hood, not to throw out a number, is $20,000 item. I mean, it's like insane. It's got the fire suppression in there. So to really have a, 6 burning over flame, we don't.
if we could achieve
But
the
if
goal
we could-
without
we
doing
could
that,
electric-
you're right.
Right. We could make it up.
Well, and then you still need a 3-bowl sink, so that's up cheap, but what am I hearing? I'm hearing, hey, we need more counter serving space, we don't need cabinets, let's open up that whole wall. Basically, so that's great.
So do we need that hallway going in the back, which I understand was a great thing, so you could have 2 events? I don't know that there's 2 events that often. I don't know that you need that hallway in the back of the kitchen. And just go all the way to the outside wall. Would that help you?
I didn't have that in 2004, that happened somewhere.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and it makes sense, you could separate it, but,
Yeah, I agree that I don't think we're gonna have maybe on occasion.
yeah, if they can, they just walk through. Say, excuse me.
Excuse me, I have that chicken, please.
That's right. All right, so we have room to pull with it to achieve the goal that they're, all right? Captain,
And I think that,
electric, instead of a flame's okay?
Well, electric's there now.
No, for a gas, a flame.
For a
Gas stove top
Stove
as
top.
opposed to electric top. You can live with that because that saves a lot.
You can still boil water.
That'll boil water.
But it would save money and suppression equipment if we could use an electric,
So with the
instead
Electric stove top,
of electric,
burner, electric burner.
right?
Yeah, save. Restaurant stoves.
Anybody using it?
There are. We have.
Okay, I have a question. Now, the criteria right now for the community center, since this is a borough-owned property, right? So once we start going into the trust fund money, what happens to our community ownership of the community center? Are we then obligated to open it up with no restriction to residential use? And that's I think, a legal question that we probably need to get answered, because not my fear, but it is my fear, if we have to open it up and residency is not a requirement, we could be in trouble. It could be just, we put $400,000 in and we're just losing money. But I really think we need to talk to
But that,
Green Acres.
that would be the grant that would do that, not the
No.
open
Well,
space.
I think, you
Well-
can correct me if I'm wrong, your question is because we're using the open space money, that can make it a Green Acres facility, and therefore make it something that everybody would have to be able to use. That's your question?
Exactly, so that we couldn't, see, right now, it's residential use, unless you have a sponsor, right? So if that stipulation would be lost.
Like the pools.
Right,
Spring Lake, that's what
right.
happened.
If that stipulation is lost, I think
Well,
that's
no,
a
I'm not gonna, I just
huge.
want to make sure I understand the question. It seems to me that the use of the open space funds doesn't necessarily trigger the Green Acres regulations. But if you put the property on the Rossi, then I think you trigger the Green Acres, and I think that's the consideration, maybe. I'm not sure. I have to.
If we use the Green Acres funds
We're
on
not
this
using
property,
Green Acres
it
funds.
goes on the Rossi, we
We're not-
don't have a
we're not- we're
choice.
not using-
We're not
it's
using
not
Green
part of it.
Acres funding.
But we're using the open space.
Tax,
funds.
it's not Green Acre grant.
Okay,
doesn't
well,
But I
that's,
understand,
I
I understand
agree.
the issue you're
you
raising.
understand
and
what
I-
I'm
They're
raising,
connected.
that's a concern, I mean, it's a,
We have to look at
if we have to raise the other $200,000 another way, then we should, as a community, to keep that
If that's the
ours.
case, you're saying?
Yeah,
if
if
that's
that's
the
the
case.
case, and I don't know that it is, that's why I'm
So
asking.
we have to look into
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that's all.
get that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That would be great.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
wanna, just wanted to make sure. And the other thing is, I just wanna make sure, as we're doing this, and I'm sure that you've thought about this, that we're careful with anything that we're doing, because remember, we're bringing the building back, we're adding an entrance that people will use in the back. We just need to be mindful of the neighbors behind here, because now we're impacting them more than ever.
We already
And-
have handicapped entrance on the rear.
Right, but that's the thing.
And the patio.
Everybody still uses the front.
Well, that's what this
When I
is.
vote, the back door is open, I still park in the back.
No, yeah, but this entrance in the back is handicapped. It's replacing the existing one, except there's no patio.
Right.
That for them to
Well-
party on, which exists now, it'd be less.
I just am saying though, even, traffic wise, and I know we have there's a nice fence there now, that, I don't know that that's ours or someone else's. But just to be mindful of it, to
Sure,
be
you're right, you're right.
thoughtful that it's a community, we don't want to do how.
I don't think we're going back much farther than what's already there, right? Where the kitchen is now, how much farther are we going? To the parking lot?
I put little green dots out there for.
Oh, did you see that?
Oh, green dot's not here on the
I wanted to
side.
make sure there was 24 feet from the
Yeah.
parking space. So
Yeah,
you have
so it's good.
room for two-way traffic.
So we're good.
to Park out, yeah.
All right, so Arthur,
Yes.
do you promise to put Catherine Hahn on a committee to help you come up with the details? Because she will make it. You know she'll be beautiful. And she will make sure.
Could I keep her out of there?
Yes, there you go.
That's a better
Thank
question.
you. I think it's great. I mean, I think we're doing a really great thing. And then when we keep ours, I think that is also tasteful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Cat Crypton 564 Atlantic Avenue. On the open space fund, I have spent a lot of time on the phone with a lady named Judith Yaney, who is our legal contact in the Green Acres program. I can give you her contact if you need it. The open space fund is intrinsically tied to the Green Acres program, so that Nancy is right. If you spend the money, then the property automatically is supposed to be included on what's called the ROSI, the Recreation and Open Space Inventory, which Environmental Commission has been working on getting that updated anyway, and Gary's office, I know, has been working on that. You should be on the ROSI. Their problem in Green Acres with this is that you're not supposed to use open space money for building funds, and there is no historic designation on that building. So their feeling, when I spoke to them 2 months ago, is technically that the building is not eligible for that. So could be subject to a lawsuit if he decided to use the taxpayers' money that way. So now, if you put it on the Rossi, I don't know if it would be eligible for historic designation because the building has been changed already so much. If you change it further, you kind of guarantee it has no historic value anymore, so you want to be mindful of that and check into it. But it becomes what they would consider to be an unfunded Green Acres property. Funded properties are Ocean Road Bicentennial Park and Fletcher. Those are the Green Acres funded properties. Everything else that's on the Rossi is considered an unfunded property, meaning we did not take state Green Acres money for them, but they are subject to certain regulations under Green Acres. So, and if anybody wants the 143 pages of regulations, I'm happy to share them with you. I did read them all. Interesting stuff. It impacts the Little League, if you recall.
Yeah.
There were some things in there. So, just so you know, yes, they are tied together, and you do need to be compliant with what Green Acres wants you to do if you use that money.
Murphy, Highway 71. Quick question about the generator, with all the appliance changes and everything. Will that generator function with the air conditioning on?
You know?
Yeah, no, the idea was to have a 20 to 22 kilowatt generator.
Okay.
Which would
My
be-
understanding at one point that the size of the generator was reduced where it would work in the winter but not be able to work with the air conditioning in the summer. But it will work with the air conditioning in
The
the
idea
summer.
was so that you could use it in the summer with the air conditioning and some charging stations and that sort of thing. So, yeah, 22 kilowatts will handle that.
With all the appliances running and 100 people charging.
Well, I don't think
phones.
you could have a party in there.
Yeah, well, that was the point. That's the part of the question. Which is why, some people thought of things about the kitchen, which, I really don't know much about it. But it seems like maybe use a bigger kitchen and make it a smaller conference room. I don't know.
On the generator, on the generator, after Sandy, if you remember, the firemen came over with their portable generator, which handled essentially. We had problems with voltage, which burned up the heater.
Yes, I
But
remember.
and we was breaking there and blew up the light bulbs, little quirky things like that, but besides that, but that was just a portable generator, and this should,
Do you know what the
I don't remember what it was, but it had a
I think it was
voltage
a
regulator
15.
on it or
So is
something.
this going to be gas powered?
Yeah, natural gas.
It was a portable generator and it was great. The microwave was going and the stove was going.
But everybody thought that was it. It was a regulator in the
Right.
generator itself.
Yeah.
It wasn't the draw.
Right, but, it was running a lot of stuff at once and.
But he'll do the calculations, add it all up to make sure it runs and gets and size it accordingly. That's what he does. That's why he gets the big bucks.
Okay, well, I did say this was something that I thought I heard that, we would not, that the generator size was reduced at one point to only allow for it to heat.
Hurricane's coming up, hot weather, right?
Well, if I remember, that was a conversation we had with Jay, right?
Not always.
It was hot and snow.
No.
both.
Yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says I haven't lost my mind, that, yeah, at one time it was thought that it would heat.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Okay, well, it was in order to, I guess, maximize the amount of funds you had, to try to, do all the things you had to do, and, that was maybe something that was,
This is one project in Spring Lake Heights we're looking not to chintz and do it right. And do it right, really, and spend the money and size it up. And I agree with you, and I think in the past, we're always looking to downsize everything for the minimum cost, always, and sometimes it ends up costing more.
okay, well, I just wanted to check that.
Yeah,
That
good
being
question.
able to run the air conditioner, because it did get downgraded for a while.
Well, I think as Kathy said, I mean, you have all these pieces of it that should have been done 15 years ago, should have been done 25 years ago, should have been done 10 years ago. If they had been done, then the cost would be $400,000 today. I mean, I think, to our point, if we don't do it right this time, then in 10 years, somebody's going to say, well, we need this upgrade, and it's going to cost $500,000 to upgrade that one thing, as opposed to just spending the money now.
Well, for the next 100 years.
Yeah,
Right?
anyway.
That floor's been there for how long? What was it built, 1914, was it, or turn of the century? I don't even know, it's old.
How does that money become open? I don't understand that.
All right, does anybody else have
How the money
anything
becomes open space, I don't
on the
understand.
community
You
center?
get taxed for it. It's a 1 cent tax per $100 that
But
comes.
you can't use it for this.
You're not supposed to, but you insist they have Bob and the phone to use it for that.
2004, when we did this, it was $250,000.
That's part of the point,
And
right?
it's basically exactly what you see here.
Well, Paul did the plan, this is right.
Yeah, it's slightly different, but it's basically.
So we better hurry up for the price.
So, yes. And also, I'd just like to say, well, Kathy and myself, we've been on the beautification committee for over 20 years, and not only have we worked with the budget we've been given by the town, but we've raised funds ourselves every single year of those 20 years. And, as much as we can do, there's no way we can ever do anything like this. And, we'll probably never get this money again, or at least not for a long, long time from the G, because we've tried 3 or 4 times already to get this. So, I mean, I just think, and, everybody, that building is used almost every day of the year. And by the seniors, by young people, by obviously, the Republicans, the Democrats, all kinds of different organizations. So I think it's really the only place, one of our last meetings when the person hit the telephone pole, we couldn't go in the building. There's no other place in town we could hold our meetings. So I mean, it's definitely an important building, and it really needs to be, like having those tables and chairs in the middle of the room all the time. It's really not attractive or safe. So I really would like to see this go forward. I think it's something, all kinds of people come to have parties there. It's the way a lot of people see our town. So I think we should try to have a nice venue for them to come to. And don't forget, we also rent it out almost every weekend, so we do get revenue from it. Well, it's not a lot, but we get probably some revenue almost every weekend of the year, which is another.
$5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, so.
$100.
We may have to raise that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there have been occasions when I wanted to hold some sort of a short meeting or something, and there's been a group in the front. So, I mean, there is a reason to have that other meeting. There have been occasions, there definitely have been occasions.
All these ideas were brought up through problems through the years,
Yeah.
and that's how they got incorporated into the plan.
So I really hope that we can find a way to get this done.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thanks, Lee.
Oh, one more. Hold on. I just left something else. Because if we do go forward with this, which sounds great, we definitely have to decide that the price has to be raised. It cannot be $100 to rent it anymore. That has to be, and we've asked this ongoing for years, that it should be raised. And also,
Do you actually, being that you've taken such good care of the building, do you know when the last time we actually raised it was?
But we turned.
No, it's been $100 as well as I can remember on this.
But $100 is for how many hours? It's like,
The whole
day,
maybe instead of raising it, we,
right.
3 hours, so
And
for
we
$100
really
for
have
3
to
hours.
look at also,
Right.
when people have a party, and we really have to do this really seriously now, that someone has to go in after every single party and check it. And if there's scotch tape there, if there's staple there, they've tied balloons to the ceiling fans. I can't tell you how many times they broke them. That an organization was in there that took the curtains on the stage and rolled them up, and it took hours to undo them with the hooks.
Well, then you
And
have
it
to
was
establish,
all wrinkled.
you have to pay someone to do that, and that means you have to build that into the rate with a refundable
And then it-
check, which is an administrative, maybe they're holding on
And
to
there is a
that. That's the
list
only way to
there
do
of
that.
all things that they should not do and do. And that's just gone right out the window, because no one even pays attention to that.
I mean, even if you doubled the rate to 200, if you doubled it, it's still, where do you get a room that could hold almost 200 people for the day, all day, with a playground? Yeah, $1 per person. Crazy.
But we really have to look at the maintenance too of it after every party.
Certainly.
Either we have to set up a committee or have a couple of people.
A lot of
that come
these
in and
materials
take
that
turns.
use it
And
require a lot
you
less
have to get a
maintenance.
deposit, and if there's tape there from that party, or they destroy the curtains, or they touch something, or the tape is there, staples, nails, whatever, they do not get that deposit back. That's it, bottom line. Done. So we have to really think.
You mean like every other rental place does?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you're investing this kind of money, I mean, for years, because we have.
If you really make it nice
right?
and do it right, it has to be done right and properly.
Yeah.
It really does.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
All right, does anybody else have anything they want to say about the community center? Thank you, Paul, for your presentation. And the last thing I want to say is just, yeah, I think we made it very clear that this is an ongoing process, that Paul's plans are far from the final plan, but yeah, we would love to have continued input so that we can get this done before we don't have the funds to do it anymore. All right, that brings us to our, can I get a motion to close the
I'll make that motion.
presentation? No, that was in the public hearing, I didn't need to do that. But thanks anyway, Robert. That brings us to our public comment section on agenda items only. If you have anything you'd like to say about any of the other agenda items, or if you now want to talk about the community center again, please come forward, state your name and address, and address the chair. Seeing no hands, can I get a motion to close the public comment section?
No, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We don't have any discussion items. Mayor and council reports.
All I have is rec started today, and with our new daily person in charge, Catherine, and hopefully everything will work smoothly.
Nothing floated over there?
Nothing, we got through the first day. No news is good news.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing to report.
No?
All I have to say is our new vacuum truck is absolutely beautiful.
Is it?
Yes.
Have we used it yet, Joe?
No, we haven't registered yet, but we
Okay.
can demo it and.
Something I hope you never use.
Fire truck, we don't like to use it.
That's right.
Like a life raft that I sell.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. That brings us to our reports, notices, and correspondence. We have one copy of the Borough of Secret Ordinance amending and supplementing their Chapter 17 zoning. Is that the same chapter that we amended in our ordinance, or I forget what that was?
I don't know.
Okay.
We can check quick.
Anyway, that's one thing, and then the other one is the JCP&L public hearing on July 12th regarding the proposed increase in non-utility generation charges.
Mayor, the seeker ordinance, although I don't have a full copy, they just did get the title, the full title. They're changing a definition of schedule of limitations,
Okay.
but that's all I have.
All right. That brings us to our ordinance introductions. The first ordinance that we're going to introduce is ordinance number 2016-05, an ordinance amending section 7-3.4 entitled Parking Prohibited During Certain Hours on Certain Streets of Chapter 7. We did discuss this last meeting. If you remember, there are certain areas on the south side of town that were at one point close to Jimmy Burns that have parking signs that are still in effect from that time that limit people from parking there overnight. And seeing that that establishment is no longer there, and those signs don't really represent the parking in the rest of the town, we are trying to update the ordinance so that people can park there overnight just as they can in other parts of the town. So that's essentially what that ordinance is about.
Go make a motion.
You can.
Well, I'd be delighted to. I'd like to introduce that, make a motion.
And I'll second it.
Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes, so we will have a public hearing at our next meeting, which is July 11th.
Okay. If if you didn't hear that, public hearing on that ordinance, July 11th. And then the amended agenda has one more ordinance that we're introducing tonight, which is ordinance number 2016-06, an ordinance of the Borough of Spring Lake Heights establishing salaries and wages for the year 2016. And I have a list of that here. And essentially, just some highlights of that is that the mayor and council will not be receiving any pay raises. Most of the, I think all of the stipends that are on there are not increases, and then the rest of the employees are receiving the negotiated pay rate. Was it 2%? So can I get a motion to introduce that?
Make that motion. I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes, and that too will be on the
The
next.
July 11th agenda, okay. That brings us to our resolutions. We have 3 resolutions. Resolution R 2016-119 is the first one, approving the issuance of an ABC social affair permit to the Ocean Housing Alliance. Take a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Roll call?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-120, a resolution of the Borough Council appointing additional summer recreation employee. That's one additional employee.
Make that motion. I'll second.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the final resolution is resolution number R 2016-121, a resolution of the Borough Council approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the June 24, 2016 bill list.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, that brings us to our public comment section on any discussion item whatsoever, agenda or otherwise. If you have something to say, please approach the chair, state your name and address, and say what you're trying to say.
John Cashman, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I wanted to ask a question or two about the executive sessions that you're having. Not so much about tonight, the issue that came up tonight at executive session, but on previous executive sessions, you've been discussing Lake Drive. Okay, something going on Lake Drive. Why is that in the executive session? Why isn't it being discussed in public? This concerns Mr. Stewart and his desire to have access to his property on Lake Drive, and he's been asking to put for you to open up the road from the highway to his property. But why is that not discussed in public?
At this point, there's a lot of legal issues that have come up that we've had to review in executive session.
Legal issues about highways, of who owns it?
This is a fairly complicated transaction. There's been a number of different things that have come up that have required legal advice to the council on how to move forward.
Okay, so it's more of a litigation issue than land acquisition?
No, it's a land acquisition issue, but it's a complicated land acquisition issue.
But there's really no land to acquire. The town has the right of way to that road. You simply have to allow him to open the road up.
The road ends before you get to Highway 71.
Right.
So it's not as simple as just opening the road up, and that is what's created a lot of the issues that had to be discussed.
Okay. Because the actual statute says that you can not talk about it in public if in any matter involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property with public funds, the setting of banking rates or investments of public funds, where it could adversely affect the public interest if the discussion of such matters was disclosed. Why would talking about it in public adversely affect the public interest in this matter?
Well, again, this is a situation where I'm giving legal advice to the council, and I think it's appropriate to contain that in the executive session. And ultimately, it'll all come out in public ultimately, just as everything else does.
Okay, because opening up roads, or putting a road through there is going to affect people in the neighborhood. And they need to know about that when it's going to happen, so that they can have some input.
Correct.
Keeping everything in
But this
executive
isn't,
session.
this unfortunately is not as simple as just saying, go ahead and open up the road. It's not that simple.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Beth Griffin, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I have a question, I'm not sure who would answer this, although Artie probably knows, because he knows everything.
You're both right, you're not.
In the town, there's a lot of what historically were summer bungalows, small cottages, small houses. And maybe they have electricity and they have plumbing, but they may not necessarily have heat, because historically they were used for summer rentals. If I were going to buy one of those houses that have electricity and have plumbing, and I wanted to install central heat and air, either to live there or to make the property available as a year-round rental, is that an allowable use? Can you do that?
There was a time that was not allowed. They wouldn't let them do it, and that changed some time ago, from my understanding, that they, all of a sudden, heat was getting put in some of those summer summer bungalow was a thing, and you could not heat it, and you changed it from a bungalow to a house. I don't know if that was a legal definition that they were dealing with, but I know that they always frowned upon it, was young and stop people from doing it. But I don't know what the law is.
If you have to do
Typically,
that,
the issue really comes down to, and I would defer to the attorney as far as the legal definition of conforming uses and non-conforming uses. If it is a single-family bungalow, then it's in a single-family zone. The installation of heat would not be considered an expansion of the non-conforming use. If, however, the bungalow is a second unit on the property in a single-family zone, in which case that would be considered an expansion of a non-conforming use, and the installation of heat or any other temporal expansion of that structure would be considered, would require variance.
Okay, so-
And it wouldn't matter on the size of the lot, if it's a non-conforming lot.
Typically, I mean, I'd have to.
I mean, we're talking about 25-foot lots, that's what I'm saying.
Typically, it's a single-family zone, and it's a single-family unit, regardless of the size. It may be a pre-existing non-conforming lot, or it may be a pre-existing non-conforming structure. But in those cases, installation of heat would not be considered expansion of the use because it's conforming use. The second unit on the property is where the illegality of expansion.
But the person could go for a variance and request a variance. So the borough can't say, we don't want you to have heat in that house.
Well, again, we're just referring, there's a distinction between whether you're talking a single bungalow on a single lot, or it's a second bungalow.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So either you can, if it's conforming, you can have it. If it's non-conforming, you can go for variance.
That's
But no one in the borough can say to the property owner that you can't have this, or we don't want you to have this.
Well,
unless
it's
the zoning
either
officer
or.
would say that initially.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm that.
But only
Thank
if
you.
it's on its own singular lot. If there's two bungalows on one lot, then one of them could do it. You know what I'm saying?
one of them will be non-conforming.
Yeah.
Well,
So you
technically,
can
both
variance.
non-conforming, you couldn't even expand the one that already has it.
Hi, it's just me again. I'm going to come back and beg you to please do something about the recycling center. So I'm going to ask if I can give this to Janine tomorrow. I did the research from Cedar, Spring Lake, Manitowoc. Got all their recycling things together. Every single one of them says residents only in their recycling centers. Residents only. Whether they do it by decal or ID with a regular driver's license, they only allow residents in the recycling center. I beg you, for the residents of Spring Lake Heights, please make it official. Whether you do it by resolution is fine. You should really do it by ordinance. You know, we can look at this. I'd like you to all just read through. I'll highlight for you what they do. Seeger actually charges you. If you go to bring too much bulk to the recycling center, they'll charge you for additional. And it's cheap. It's not expensive. But I think that their point is, if you have a landscaper, you're doing a lot of work and you're going to bring it over, you might pay $60. I don't know that we did a good of that. 10, what?
not about making money. He has to be able to get.
It's not about making money, it's about,
Just let me ask one thing. So in order for that to work, I know a little bit about it. And for that in order to work, you gotta man it all the time, every minute. So how many hours, I know you man it a lot more now than you ever did in the past. How many hours a day is a man?
Less than 6, probably only 5.
5 hours a day, I think. So we would add, well, we would have to add that. Someone, you'd have to free someone up. Someone has to be there to check IDs or it's just thrown out the window.
well,
Well, you have to.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
everyone
that's
knows
what you question, how man.
okay, but in here, just so you know,
Yeah.
nobody else's recycling center is open carte blanche every day while employees are there. They have very specific hours.
They all have attendees, every one of them.
But if we have a 5-hour-a-day man, why can't we have it open 5 hours a day?
Well, he
when
goes
Steve
and
is
does
on duty?
does several different duties, and
Yeah.
his main duty is that, but he gets called out
Right.
and he
I
gets.
think the question is, I mean, it
How
is,
big of a problem is it?
yeah.
You have to have someone standing there all day.
No, I mean, how big of a problem outsiders coming in?
A big problem. Every time I'm there, I
Well,
see, we had,
Mr. Joe,
Tom, I see people from every other town but Spring Lake Heights. Because we're the only town that doesn't require ID. Look, if we even put up a sign that said, residents only, they don't know when we're gonna have somebody there.
There's a sign that says that.
And, well, when Steve is there though, I feel like we, the council, not you, are not empowering him to say, look, any municipal public works guy should be able to say to somebody, oh, may I see your ID, please?
Yes,
It's
that's somebody
residents
who's
No,
only.
I understand. I mean, if there's not an ordinance, we should have an ordinance. That being said, if enforcement's gonna cost us twice as much as actually taking care of the stuff that gets dropped off there, there's no point in doing it.
Well, what did it cost us to go out and retrieve the concrete that was dumped in the brush bin a couple months ago? How much did that
I didn't
cost?
do it.
When we had to go out and remove it. Though this is my.
No, that's an issue. That is an issue, but you have to always weigh it. The council has never seen fit to hire a person
I don't think we
to
need to hire
sit
somebody.
there. Well, we've said that for years, and no one's ever stepped up to offer to work their recycling center every day. And there are some physicality to it.
Right.
No, because you're helping people.
And every time I go, Steve is usually there, and he's a great help, he's great with people. He's awesome with people.
But he does a lot of other
Things.
things.
Okay,
So
but,
we need someone to stay right there.
but if
all
nobody
day.
knows when he's there or not, and it says ID required, residents only, and a policeman, why can't our police force ride in there once in a while too? Oh, stop laughing, Mark. It's not funny. But, and I'm serious though, they don't know when they're gonna be asked, where's your ID? The penalty could be, first offense $250, second offense $500, third.
Look, I think it's a nice thing to help the residents carry stuff and help them there anyway. I've always
I
been
agree.
for getting someone,
I
and
agree, and he's
not a lot
fantastic.
of money, and have them be there all week. Of course, it's 6 days a week.
Right, right.
Although Saturday, we do have a person there all the time.
Saturday's man.
Because he doesn't have anything else,
That's
right?
his.
Which is the heavy day anyway.
Right.
But I like the idea of putting someone there at minimum wage or whatever, just have them help people all day long. It's a nice service.
Well, he does a great job, he really does. He's always, and when I'm
It's
there,
probably too valuable to sit there all day. That's the problem.
well,
That's the problem. You need someone who's not so great.
but,
But ask people what their address is. You know what I'm saying?
well, I can't go to Spring Lake. I can't go to Seeger, can't go to Manasquan, can't go to
It's
Delmar.
nice to
I don't know,
know.
there's a lot of
Everybody
Spring Lake
comes
Heights
here.
residents
nice to
that have
know
Spring
where
Lake
the envy of the
stickers. But
recycling
anyway,
Well, I'm just saying, I don't believe that the residents here should be paying for concrete in our brush container. We don't know how it got there,
Well, and we're not
And if
making
it
money on
costs us-
recyclables anyway.
but it costs us a little bit more
It's a
money to
loser
get
for us.
somebody to man it, then I'm all for it.
but if it costs more money to man it than it does to actually get rid of the stuff, then I'm not for it.
So maybe what we need to look at is what it will cost us to hire and what we paid
I
last
think we do.
year.
I
We
think
can run
it's a
some
very
numbers.
good point, yeah.
And
Let's figure out-
recycling, garbage,
let's
cardboard.
figure it out.
Let's
Pull it
figure
out.
out how much we're actually spending and
Yeah.
what it would take to enforce it.
And we already know that we have 5 hours a day coverage and all day Saturday, so what do we need to
Well, I would put him in the
It's not to
workforce.
patch that stuff.
I would get a guy to do that, covered on Saturday with Steve, and put Steve doing other valuable work that needs to be done, maintaining the town.
But
I'll
you
get
said-
someone that's
you said
job
you're
just to
gonna
do
drop
that.
off the ordinances,
Yeah,
I mean,
regulations. I
Okay.
mean, I will, help tweak, do whatever we want to do. I just think it's important, and I just feel like we're just ignoring it, that it's not gonna cost us more, but it will, and I think we need to do the next
We could put it on
breakdown.
the books and then
Exactly.
randomly, when someone happens to be there, challenge people.
Yeah, like
Well, I think that's a great point. If we had-
Occasionally.
We had permission by council to.
Exactly.
To enforce
Yeah,
that.
To say, please, can we see your license?
Yeah, exactly, and right now we don't do that because we don't have that authority.
Right.
No, and I think
Exactly.
that's a very good point. At the
We
very-
don't necessarily have to hire a
At
new
a
person,
minimum,
but occasionally
we
if somebody
should-
knows that they
We
wish to
should
challenge.
codify
Yeah.
what it is, what you are allowed to
I mean,
enforce.
fortunately
probably
for
already
us,
in
we
the
have
ordinance.
gentlemen that live in
They
town,
probably
and
is.
quite
Yeah,
frankly,
yeah.
90% of the people, these guys that work there now know, because they live in town and they work the garbage side of it. That's the great thing about most people we do, with the people that we know, we have to ask them, and the one issue that we will run into is, as I've discussed with Jay, is people that rent a house. They may, not rent a house, excuse me, they may own this as a summer house with their license says New York.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're renting somebody's house for a week or two.
They can bring in the utility bill, and they can bring in their lease. I mean, it's that simple, but, do you know, in Spring Lake, you know what they do? All renters have to get their decal through the landlord. You have to be a resident to get the decal. The owner then turns around and gives the decal to the renter.
We don't want people shaking people down, give me your ID up against the wall, yeah,
I understand,
I
I'm
mean,
not
if you can
saying
put a
that.
label, if you can put a sticker on or something like that, make it easy. And I certainly know with the public works employees,
Right.
coming in the yard and seeing someone in the recycling and running over and having to engage with them. You know what I mean?
No, I understand that, but that's exactly what I'm saying, is what Joe is saying, is that when I talk to Steve over there, who is so helpful, and he does, he knows every person that pulls up, but he said to me, I don't feel empowered. There's nothing behind me backing me up. So if he gets the blessing of the council to say, residents only, he will do a good job, he's very personable. Well, not that we're gonna keep him there, Joe, keep him up there.
For whoever is, we rotate guys in and out,
We do stick
guys free up from garbage collection, they work here.
Right, and they're always very polite and personable, they really are.
So I mean, I think we start with an ordinance to make sure that we have it codified, and then we go from there, seeing what the different enforcement options are, and how much they cost,
Right,
right?
right.
But let's start with making sure that the guys have the backing of the law.
Right, that's exactly what we need.
It's all
Thank
about the
you.
numbers.
So, and I'm gonna make copies of, just so that we can see where, because pretty much the rest of the stuff is all on board. But I know that, Neil Hamilton works 2 days a week. Two what? Oh, even worse. Oh, God help us. Like, there's brush on the street on Jersey Avenue. It's been there for a month, and they'll come and get it. They cut grass, trees, regular brush. Problem is with Neil, 2 half-days a week, how are we gonna enforce this? It's a problem. And, Neil can't just drive around because he's usually busy running around doing everything else when he's in. How can we better Spring Lake Heights? Did you ever see bulky trash? It goes out 2 weeks ahead of time, you'll see a mattress laying there. It's not like I'm gonna call Neil for that. I don't know who to call, But unless we start addressing it now, it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. And then we're gonna really have a problem. Now, when we had a full-time zoning code enforcement, it was great, because that's what they did. They took a day and they drove around, and people knew. Part of it is communication, educating people. Look, and our code says you can put it out no more than 48 hours ahead of time. 48 hours. So if your bulky trash pickup is Thursday, you have, Tuesday night, put it out Tuesday night. We have summer residents that are here, we need to figure it out so that we're all not looking at people's garbage at the
The
curb.
problem is because we put it out on the weekend, because that's when you're here. We're a summer community, and still a lot of places. And trash days we moved to Thursday, and so it's gonna sit there from the weekend till Thursday, because that's what I'm doing, that's what everybody else is doing.
Right.
Because otherwise, you gotta get your kids or whatever, to come home from work at 7 o'clock, run down to your house on a Wednesday to put it out.
Right.
It
Drive
just
the
doesn't-
dresser out with me,
It
yes.
just
I
doesn't
agree.
work. The problem is there were so many holidays on a Monday that scheduling that was difficult. So, we should always look at stuff. I know we changed it there, now it's been a couple of years, we should evaluate it and see if it's worked or not.
Monday's your heaviest garbage day besides.
Huh?
Monday's also. your
Yeah,
heaviest
it's-
garbage day
it's-
as well, so.
Well, so what, it's a
all about
priority.
Manpower
But it's what the people, if the people don't wanna look at stuff, then that's the only remedy, is to do it the way we did it for 50 years. But if we change it and it doesn't work, then you gotta change it back, or you gotta modify it in some way. But now it's been 2 years, we'll look at it and see,
Right.
see what we wanna do.
Well, I agree, it's not just bulky trash, it's who do I go for enforcement of all this brush in the road?
Well, your zoning officer's not paid to travel around the town inspecting. He's responding to permits, right?
So
And that's
can we-
basically his job.
Can we ask the police
We don't-
department to
well,
help us
we would have
take
to
notes
ask
when
him.
you're driving around? Is that,
I would just call and
Subway.
complain. I would just call and complain.
Call police.
Yeah, I would just call dispatch and call and complain.
Right, and just, okay. Well, I'm seeing it more and more, and because if you see it, and somebody else is renting down there or moves in and they see it, they think that's what you do.
Yeah.
We've always been a beautifully kept town, you know, and that is
Listen,
definitely.
we have rear yard pickup, yet at least half put it into the curb.
Nobody does it.
And years ago, your neighbor would come and say, I'm sick of looking at your garbage, put it back. Doesn't happen anymore. You did anything wrong, the police will be knocking on your door. It's just changed. It has changed. People think nothing coming up to the big weekend, July 4th, they'll put stuff out in front of their house for the weekend. You would never do that years ago. I don't know if that was right or this is right, but certainly it's changed and they don't blink an eye on that.
So, if, you know, I'll do the spring and we can think about that and I'll start calling, but if everybody else starts noticing and calling and people are aware, I think people will stop before they keep seeing it and do it more and more. You know, the more they see it, the more they do it and think it's okay, and it's really not. It's a beautiful town. We need to all work together to keep that way. And then I just have one comment about this ordinance, only said we all look at it before it comes up for final adoption. Ocean Road, South Side, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., Railroad to 10. There's no parking there anyway.
That's why. It's redundant. I believe that's why.
I just want to make sure we keep
Yeah.
it.
There's no parking still on one side of the, right. One side of the road and Ocean Road is still no parking.
We had this, we had that.
Okay, as long as it's.
This was both.
We
I
discussed.
just want to make sure, that tomorrow we're both.
Get rid of the.
I did the same thing Jay had to, I called this weekend, he reminded me.
Well, and you and I are talking about the traffic regulations and what we can do with
Yeah.
other things and stuff.
Yeah, we were just taking away the Jimmy Burns part of it, not the
Yeah.
other part.
Yeah, it's a long time overdue.
Or they may reopen it.
Yeah, he did.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. 2 meetings ago, Kathy Hahn, Central Avenue. 2 meetings ago, I mentioned about the 40 miles an hour on the highway. Ms. Howard, did you ask about that?
Yes, I did, and the chief is checking into it with the state.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
state
Borough
highway.
town is 35, and then in
It
the
does bounce
center,
up and down. here.
by the school
It's
is
a
40.
state highway, and we can't do anything about it until we have a discussion with the state.
Okay,
So the
because
chief is looking
Seeker,
into that.
Manasquan is 30 and 35,
Mhm.
just so you know. And the whole city of Asbury is 30 miles an hour. So that's, just one concern. And my other concern was when we asked about our pavements of the roads, and they needed to be done, is that going to be tabled, or is that going to be done in the fall, in the spring of next year, or what about that?
Are you talking about
Potholes
a
and,
specific road or no?
well, Central Avenue.
Yeah,
that we
we're
said
talking about, remember,
Central Avenue is a priority.
We did have,
section, yeah.
with the gas company, and we were talking about those small roads that we haven't gotten to. A lot of them are being taken care of with Crosby Road, which is ready to go
That's
to
a big
bid.
one, yeah.
And that was a big one, takes care of Jeanette and Normie Terrace, and, but you're right, Central Avenue, one section, and we're gonna have to make a list. Renew the list and
So you
find
didn't forget
funding.
about that.
Central around 8th, that's a.
Just so you
tank
forget
trap.
about that.
No, absolutely.
And,
It's horrible.
and then also the other dwelling on Shore Road, and maybe you can help Mr. America about that with the dumpster, right behind Harold's garage there, the one on stilts, that's up in the air. That, how much longer do we have to look at that eyesore? The dumpster being there, and it's just a disgrace to the town. I mean, is there anything going forward about that?
I think, as far as we know, it's the
Like,
person
do they
is,
get a
right,
penalty or
the,
anything?
My
for-
understanding is From the time they get the permit to the end, it's good for 3 years. Yes.
So we have to look at that for 3 years?
Well, it's or time on another road.
Well, I think that there's some litigation going on there that we can't
It's
do
just
it now.
embarrassing, you know, it's the town. And then also, I was just to comment about what Nancy said with the bulk day. Would you ever think about, do we really need bulk day every month? Couldn't it just be spring and fall?
We did it bi-monthly one time, and they actually held on to the trash, and the volume was the same. But I don't know about 4 times a year or twice a year like some of these towns, but we did skip every other
I
month one
just
time.
think it really did. I mean, is it really necessary, January, February?
They keep bringing it out,
And
or
the
bringing
only
it here to
thing
put
too
out.
is, which is okay, but then couldn't we give them an alternative to have a dumpster down at the Borough Yard, and if they had a dresser or a mattress, they could throw it in?
We did that once too, and the contractors came down.
You'll get people from Woodstock dropping off stuff there.
I just thought it just,
Yeah, no, we had every contractor around was dumping sinks and toilets and debris, construction debris. It got so much, coming through the park, Black Creek, through the back way on the weekend, I mean, it got crazy. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But you would like to make some public comment?
Before we close the public comment, typically we would be giving an update on capital projects, and in light of tonight's community center presentation, we deferred that. But there were just 3 quick items I wanted to bring to the council's attention. One, as Councilman Merrick indicated, we have taken possession of the jetback, and the bill list approved the payment of that, so that project is completed. Last week, we received bids on the well foreclosure project. They came in substantially higher than the estimate. We were reviewing those, and we'll have...
What were they, Jay?
Sorry?
What were they?
We had 3 bids ranged from a low of approximately $168,000 to a high of $335,000. So we're going to have a committee review of that and look at some alternative options. And then the last, Councilman Herter indicated we are out to bid currently for the Crosby, Jeanette, and Norman Terrace project. Those bids will be received in early mid-July.
Thank you.
I mean, that project, there's quite a bit of utility work that's being done, it's necessary for sewer, there's breaches in it, there's sinkholes, I mean, there's other stuff being done, it's not just a straight paving job.
Which is one of the reasons.
It's one of the reasons there's going to be.
Anyway, all right, so, beforehand, go ahead, John.
John Cashman, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I have a neighbor at 562 Atlantic Avenue that has a tree growing in the median strip in front of his house, and it's half dead. There's a big leaf coming off of it that is completely dead, and the other part of the tree has a little bit of foliage on it. It's mostly dead. 5 or 6 or maybe 7 years ago, it was marked as to be taken down, or at least that piece cut off, and it has not happened yet. And I was wondering if somebody could take a look at it, because it looks like the bad piece might actually fall out onto the road. It's really a dead...
But it was just your house.
It's not in front of my house, it's in front of the neighbor's house.
But you're saying it's on
562.
borough property?
It's
what?
the
Across from the public works.
it's the easement in front, between the sidewalk and the street, at
Okay.
562 Atlantic Avenue. So if somebody could just take a look at it.
There, we'll do that. And after Sandy, we had actually done a quick evaluation of all streets in the public right-of-way, and we had developed a priority list for the removal of those. That is somewhat changes based after every, during snowstorm season, after snowstorms, as well as during windstorms. We've had a number of lower priority trees that have become higher priority. But we'll take a look at the 562 Atlantic.
John, it was 562 Atlantic?
562.
Thank you. Seeing no further hands, can I get a motion to close the voice of the public?
Make that motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion? I think that's it, right? Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.